Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, thank you for being here today. It is a special privilege to speak about the origins of a nation whose history is both ancient and enduring, a nation shaped by migration, resilience, cultural fusion, and remarkable leadership. Today, I invite you on a journey through the early centuries of what we now know as Bulgaria, a land at the heart of the Balkans, whose roots reach deep into Europe's past. The ancient land before Bulgaria. To understand the origin of Bulgaria, we must begin long before the nation took shape. The lands between the Danube River to the north and the Balkan Mountains to the south were once home to one of Europe's oldest civilizations, the Thracians. The Thracians were fierce warriors, skilled horsemen, and extraordinary artisans. They left behind tombs with painted walls, golden treasures of astonishing craftsmanship, and myths that blended into Greek legends. Though they never formed a unified kingdom, their presence shaped the cultural landscape of the region. Later came the Roman Empire, which absorbed these lands and turned them into a crucial frontier zone. Roman cities grew, roads cut through forests, fortresses stood guard along the Danube, and Latin influences mingled with local traditions. Even after the empire split, the Eastern Roman, or Byzantine, Empire maintained a strong grip over the territory. But history is never static. As Rome faded, new peoples moved across its territories, and the Balkans began to transform. 2. The arrival of the Slavs. By the 6th and 7th centuries, Slavic tribes migrated into the region in large numbers. They settled near rivers and fertile plains, lived in small village communities, farmed the land, and brought with them their language, one that would gradually become dominant across the Balkans. These Slavic groups did not form a single nation. They were numerous, diverse, and independent. Yet their arrival dramatically changed the ethnic and cultural landscape of the region. They filled the vacuum left by the weakening Byzantines and reshaped daily life in what would later become Bulgaria. Still, one more major force was needed for a new state to form, one that would unite these Slavic communities into a stable political structure. Third, the Proto-Bulgars and the vision of Kubrat. Meanwhile, far to the northeast on the open Eurasian steppe, lived the Proto-Bulgars, a semi-nomadic people who had formed a large confederation, sometimes called Old Great Bulgaria. This confederation was led in the early 7th century by a remarkable ruler named Kubrat. Kubrat managed to unite various Bulgar tribes, resist the domination of powerful neighbors, and establish a rare moment of stability on the steppe. But after his death, the confederation fractured. The rising Khazar power pressed hard against the Bulgar tribes, forcing Kubrat's sons to take different paths. One of those sons, indeed the most consequential for European history, was Asparuh IV. Asparuh's journey to the Danube. Asparuh gathered his people and moved westward, away from Khazar pressure. Their migration was not a single event, but a long, difficult journey, marked by battles, negotiations, and constant adaptation. Eventually, Asparuh and his followers reached the lands just north of the Danube. By around 680 CE, they crossed the river, entering territory where Slavic tribes already lived. Instead of conquering them, the Bulgars formed alliances. The Slavs welcomed the Bulgars' military strength. The Bulgars benefited from the Slavic population and resources. It was a practical partnership, born from necessity and opportunity. But the Byzantines, who still viewed this land as part of their sphere of influence, were alarmed by Asparuh's advance. The birth of Bulgaria, 681 CE. In 680, the Byzantine Emperor Constantine IV launched a military campaign to expel Asparuh. It failed. The Byzantine army collapsed in confusion after the emperor withdrew due to illness, and Asparuh's forces pressed the advantage. By 681 CE, Byzantium was forced to sign a treaty recognizing the Bulgars' control over the lands south of the Danube. In addition, Byzantium agreed to pay annual tribute. This treaty is widely recognized as the founding act of the First Bulgarian Empire. Let us pause on this moment. In 681, a new state emerged in Europe, one that was neither fully Slavic nor fully Bulgar, but a unique synthesis of cultures, traditions, and institutions. It is one of the oldest continuously existing states in Europe. its name surviving across empires, invasions, and centuries of change. From this point onward, Bulgaria was not just a geographic region, it was a political reality, a kingdom strong enough to negotiate with one of the most powerful empires in the world. 6. State building, the early Bulgarian Empire. After its founding, Bulgaria quickly grew into a formidable force. Asparuh established his first capital at Pliska, a city fortified first with massive earthen walls and later with impressive stone structures. The early Bulgarian state was highly organized. It combined Bulgar military traditions, discipline, mounted warfare, hierarchical administration, with Slavic communal structures and local governance. The blending of these cultures was not immediate, but over time they mixed in language, customs, and even spiritual practices. Archaeology shows how Bulgar and Slavic settlements coexisted and gradually merged. By the early 9th century, the Bulgar language was fading, replaced by a Slavic one. This is a rare moment in world history where a ruling minority adopted the language of the majority, a powerful testament to the depth of cultural fusion in Bulgaria's beginnings. 7. Expansion and consolidation. Under strong leaders like Khan Krum, Bulgaria expanded dramatically. Krum was known not only for his military victories, including the famous defeat of a Byzantine emperor, but also for his legal reforms. He introduced one of the earliest recorded law codes in southeastern Europe, with protections for the poor and severe penalties for corruption. But another turning point was approaching, one that would shape Bulgaria's identity for centuries: the adoption of Christianity. 8. Christianity and the rise of Bulgarian culture. In 864 CE, under Boris I, Bulgaria officially converted to Christianity. This was not merely a religious change, it was a strategic decision. Christianity helped unify the Bulgar and Slavic populations, gained Bulgaria diplomatic recognition, and allowed it to develop a written culture. Soon after, the disciples of Cyril and Methodius arrived, carrying the newly created Slavic alphabet. In Bulgarian lands, they refined it into what we now call the Cyrillic script, a writing system that has since spread across Eastern Europe and remains in use today. With literacy came schools, manuscripts, literature, and a flourishing cultural life. Bulgaria rapidly transformed into a major center of Slavic culture and Orthodox Christianity. 9. Bulgaria's enduring legacy. By the 10th century, under Tsar Simeon the Great, Bulgaria entered its golden age. Its borders reached the Adriatic, Aegean, and Black Seas. Its culture blossomed. Its scholars created works that shaped Slavic civilization for centuries. But all of this, every achievement, every military triumph, every cultural milestone, traces back to that crucial moment in the late 7th century when Asparuh crossed the Danube, formed alliance with the Slavs, and resisted Byzantine attempts to push him back. The Bulgaria we know today is the product of this remarkable fusion, a land shaped by Thracian antiquity, influenced by Roman and Byzantine traditions, enriched by Slavic culture and language, organized and forged into a state by the Bulgar tribes. Few nations in Europe can trace their origins to such a deep and layered history. Conclusion. The human story behind the nation. So what is the story of Bulgaria's origin really about? It is not just about dates, battles, or leaders, though they play an important role. It is a story about people. People who migrated across vast distances. People who forged alliances when survival demanded it. People who blended cultures, languages, and traditions into something new. People who, through hardship and cooperation, carved out a place for themselves in the turbulent world of medieval Europe. The origin of Bulgaria reminds us that nations are not created in a single moment. They are built slowly, through courage, adaptation, and the willingness of different communities to form a shared identity. From the Thracian tombs deep beneath the earth, to the Slavic villages by the rivers, to the Bulgar warriors crossing the Danube, to the Christian scholars writing in Cyrillic, all these threads weave together into the tapestry of Bulgarian history. And that tapestry, rich, resilient, and enduring, continues to define Bulgaria today. Thank you.